Alright, so this week I took a trip to Michael's to spend my holiday gift cards. And on the clearance rack was this cool looking leather journal. I'd never worked with leather before, so I wanted to give it a try. So I got it, and here we go. I spent forever reading the instructions before I finally started taking it out. So it has 2 sets of pages and the leather wrap piece. This is the Art Minds leather journal, by the way, and the leather straps and stuff. So I did a whole bunch of research, but I've never done this before, so if I do it wrong, sorry. So I sprayed it down with a spray bottle, the leather, and then I took my compass and marked a a centimeter line, I think it was half centimeter, around the edge of the leather, because I wanted to make it pretty. And I pulled out my tooling stamps. I think that's what they're called. If not, I have no idea what they are called. I found this pretty shell one I got and measured that plus the amount I'd already done and did another line that was the total of both of them from the edge. Yeah, I'm not sure that made any sense, but okay. Then I took my swivel knife. I think it's called a swivel knife. It wasn't sharp, which I didn't realize until after I had already cut the whole thing, so I did it with a dull blade, which is a big no-no. Oh well. So I went over the 2 lines that I traced with the compass and cut them with the swivel blade. Then I went around in between the 2 lines with the shell and left a tiny little amount of space in between each one. I sprayed down some water. I hit it with the Dremel, I think, about 5 times per one. It was 5 light taps. I was trying to be quiet because my sister was doing something. What? I don't remember. And this goes on for a while. And then on the corners, because the shells looked weird there, I put 4 big wavy circles with 4 little wavy circles in the center, and it came out looking like a little bit of flowers. Bouquet of flowers, really. And then I take the one that's bevel? No, it's not a bevel. It's longer on one side than the other. And went around the edges of the lines with it to make it look 3D, and like the shells were standing out from the base leather. Yeah, I know I'm not naming any of these correctly. I can't remember. But you move it about half a stamp over, I did, and then hit it again. And I went all the way around the outside edge of the shells, and then around the inside edge of the shells. I said shelves, didn't I? Oops. Yeah, I should have cut some of this. I had trouble with the corners. And then the dyeing. So these are both new dyes, and took the dye. I didn't do it right, I'm sure. And having seen it done, I definitely should have dyed both sides. Too late now. But I didn't put nearly enough dye, but you stripe it on, kind of like I'm doing. A lot more than I'm doing, but that's something else. Wish I would have done both sides. By the time I realized I should have, I'd already sealed it and was too lazy to fix it. Alright, so I did 2 layers because I didn't do the first layer very well and it was stripy. Really, really stripy, and so I tried to cover that up by doing a second layer. Worked, sort of. Mostly. And I let this dry 30 minutes in between coats, and then I let it dry overnight. And take a rag you definitely aren't going to use again, and wipe down to get any extra polish off. And then I took, this is Fiddler's leather sheen. Shake it up. I shook up the dye too, just not on camera. And then I put some of this on a corner of the rag. And you gotta wear gloves for this. The other one, if you don't mind browned hands, you don't have to wear gloves. But for this one, you need to wear gloves. And you wipe it around all over. And if it's not shiny somewhere, then you didn't put any sheen there. So I wiped that around. Stood it up and checked it to make sure the whole thing was shiny. It was good. And I left that for an hour before I moved it, and then left it overnight again. Sorry if there's a little bit of break. I had to go get the instructions because I wasn't home. So I tried to follow the instructions. Went in hole 1 and left a little bit of a tail, 2-3 inches. And then I came up and through the other hole on the other side. I think it was hole 2. And then I took the paper and I went through hole A, or the top hole, if you don't want to follow the weird wording of the instructions. And then I went back down. Got it tight first. And then I went back down through the hole B. Yeah, hole B, into hole 4. I think it was hole 4. And pulled that tight. Then I went up through hole 6 and hole C, and then down through hole D and hole 8. And then I went across to hole 7? Yeah, 7, which is on the left side. And then I went up through hole D of the other pages. Make sure you get the pages in right, because they're actually longer on one side. I don't think that makes a difference with the holes on the leather, but it does for the pages. They won't line up. So I went up through that, and then repeated the steps here, went down, and then went back up, and then went back down on the last one. I was reading the instructions while I was doing this, so it was a bit complicated. Okay, now here comes the fun part that took me a while to figure out. A long while to figure out. I think I even cut some. Took the needle, went up. What did I do? I crisscrossed across the back. You go to the, you can see that, you go from you're at the upper top corner. You cross over and do you cross? I don't remember what I did. Anyway, you get from one top stitch to the next stitch down, you cross over from, I think left to right. Right to left. Anyway, you cross, you go down, then you come up in the center like that, and you do a stitch there in the center. Then you come down, and you cross over again to the other side. Except you don't go through the pages this time, and you make a small little stitch there at the bottom. Ah, I must have cut something out. Oh well. You cross over, do a stitch in the pages, cross over again, make a tiny stitch at the bottom, cross over, and do the same thing going up the other side. And then here, you pull the strings really, really tight like you would a shoelace. Or at least that's what the instructions say. Pull it tight like a shoelace, or something close to that. And then I tied a triple knot at the top in between the 2 pages. The 2 extra sides. You could probably get away with a double. And then I had to get really heavy duty scissors because I couldn't get them to cut. And then I took the leather strap piece, and this part was really fun. I didn't know that this step was going to be so difficult. I would have played around with the leather while it was still wet to make it easier if I had known, but I could not get the leather strap through that first hole. I eventually used the needle to bend it open because I couldn't get it to stay open. If I didn't have long nails right now, it wouldn't have worked at all. So see, I took the needle and bent it in there, and then finally got the tip of the leather strap through. Make sure you do the tip that doesn't have the slit hole in it in the end, or you'll have to do it all over again. And you go up and you leave about 2-3 inches sticking out. And then you go up the other side, the other hole, you cross it over, and I think I had the suede side facing up at the time. Yeah, the suede side was facing me. And then I had to squeeze it back through on the other side. Did the same thing with the needle because that worked. It was much easier. Squeezed it through. Still took a while. Pulled it all the way through. Then you slip it through the hole at the other end. I'm doing there. You pull it tight, like so. And this was me reading that I'm actually done. And so then I wrapped it up. Fold it, wrap it around, wrapped it around twice, slid it through the little knot piece at the top. Ah, right, I had to rebend it into shape because it dried funny. Alright, so wrapped it around twice, slid it through that knot piece, and down through around the bottom and underneath, and that's it. You're done. Leather journal.